the story kicks off with a rather dramatic scene. We see a young lady seated in a car, her head spinning from an unknown cause. The driver, his eyebrows raised, notices her unusual behavior, suggesting that she might have indulged in a bit too much to drink. In response, she mumbles something about feeling dizzy. Her thoughts whirl inside her head as she battles to stay awake, but her eyelids betray her, drooping gradually. She finally gives in, slumping against the car's interior, and this doesn't escape the driver's attention. He smirks, sensing an opportunity. With a sudden, ear-piercing screech, the car grinds to a halt, surrounded by the eerie desolation of an abandoned area. Another figure materializes, joining the driver, and they seem to have sinister intentions toward the unconscious girl. Suddenly, she blinks her eyes open, her voice shaky as she questions their actions. The new arrival reassures her that they are just about to wake her up, wearing a sly smile. The driver, his tone laced with menace, advises her to stay still, promising to give her a good time. She, however, sternly warns them to reconsider their choices. They mock her, suggesting that girls like her tend to scream the loudest. But just as the man starts to unzip his pants, she strikes with her foot, knocking him to the ground. As she opens her eyes, she coolly remarks that she did try to warn them. In that very moment, the flashing lights of police cars pierce through the darkness, and the police arrive on the scene. A frantic lieutenant calls out her name, rushing to her side, horrified by the bloodstains on her body. He sighs deeply, seemingly familiar with her penchant for getting into such situations. His fellow officers gather around, curious about the mysterious woman, and one of them identifies her as Sergeant Hannah Lee. She's a renowned counterterrorism agent, plucked from a special missions unit by a private military company. Her track record boasts of never failing a mission, making the bounty on her head astronomical. They also mention her twin brother's involvement in the intelligence service, adding an intriguing layer to her already legendary status. One cop wonders aloud about the sibling duo's dual roles in a private military company and intelligence service, pondering why she's in Korea and if she might join their team. Meanwhile, the lieutenant scolds Hannah, reminding her of his strict orders not to kill anyone. Unfazed, she maintains that she didn't kill anyone, though he's skeptical, given the state she left her assailants in. She explains that she was intoxicated and had to act in self-defense, albeit somewhat excessively. She hands over crucial evidence, including a burner phone used for recording and the knife wielded by the attackers. She emphasizes the recording from the crime scene, asserting that their actions amounted to attempted murder and robbery. She adds that considering the heinous acts they subjected her to, they could face charges of sexual assault and intimidation as well. Hannah stares at the lieutenant and demands his shirt, contrasting how clean it is with her own blood-soaked attire. Reluctantly, he hands over his shirt as they arrest the assailants. He expresses gratitude for her role in apprehending them, acknowledging that without her, they might have escaped justice once more. However, Hannah, ever the pragmatist, prefers cash over words as her compensation. She hints at the lieutenant's promising future, given these arrests, and he eventually agrees to treat her once he receives his next paycheck. As they head towards the police car, she pleads with him to keep her involvement in the incident a secret because no one should know. Curious, the lieutenant inquires about Hannah's brother, Duyi. She replies that he's been on a whirlwind tour, listing off several places he's visited over the past 2 months. She mentions that he mentioned going to Cambodia just last week. The lieutenant remarks on her brother's quick transition to real missions following his service with the underwater demolition team. She lauds her brother's intelligence, especially in the midst of intense assignments with the Overseas Narcotics Investigation Team. Suddenly, Hannah's phone rings with a Cambodian number, and she wonders if it could be her brother. She answers, and the caller identifies themselves as a representative of the National Security and Intelligence Service. A chill runs down Hannah's spine even before she hears the caller's voice. The caller delivers the devastating news that her brother, Dee, did not survive his last mission. The police lieutenant watches Hannah, wondering when she'll finish her phone call. He notices her anger and hears her shouting at the person on the other end. Concerned, he walks over, realizing that Hannah is really upset. She firmly believes the caller is lying and adamantly insists that there's no way something bad could have happened to her brother. Suddenly, Hannah starts choking, and she collapses to the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. The pain she feels is so overwhelming, it's like a mix of being physically hurt and blinded, and it all feels like a terrible nightmare. Back at home, Hana recalls a memory from her childhood with her brother. He had promised to protect her from anyone who might hurt her when he grew up. She jumps up from her bed, looking at a photo of them together, and declares that her brother is the reason she returned to Korea. All of a sudden, she hears a sound and starts searching for its source. After some searching, she finds a ringing phone. Hopeful that it might be her brother, she answers the call and realizes it is indeed him. She urgently asks him where he is and what's happening, but the signal is so weak that she can barely hear his voice. Because the connection is so bad, she pleads with him to just give her his coordinates. He utters words that sound like a warning about someone called Renti and the threat of being killed. Hana insists on taking action and instructs him not to hang up but to remain silent so she can track his location. She forces herself to calm down, reminding herself that the agency said he was dead, yet he's still alive. She realizes he must have used an untraceable device to call her, meaning he's in serious trouble. She knows she needs to get to Cambodia as soon as possible, or else she might actually lose her brother. In a different scene, on the island of Sicily, Italy, a young man emerges from a pool, running his hands through his wet hair. This man is introduced as Giulio Parenti, the leader of the Sicilian Mafia, also known as the Capo. He receives news of something happening in Cambodia. When he asks who was in charge, he's told it was Niccolo and that Niccolo was shot and killed at the scene. Without hesitation, Giulio orders his men to prepare everything because they're leaving. He smirks, convinced that someone is waiting for him. In the next scene, a man named Taijun calls Hana, his voice trembling with sorrow as he apologizes for not doing a better job protecting Duyi. Hana, her voice stern, tells Taijun to stop crying and answer her question. She then asks him a crucial question: where is her brother's body? Taijun's response is shaky as he explains they couldn't find Duyi's body due to a bomb explosion. He speculates that Duyi might have taken something that belonged to the Mafia, and they might have tried to eliminate him using a suicide bomber. Hana wastes no time and instructs Taijun to meet her at the main exit of Phnom Penh Airport by 9:20 a.m. local time. This surprises Taijun, and he asks if she's planning to go there. Hana's determined reply is that since they never found the body, she's going to search for her brother as if he's still alive. On the bustling streets of Phnom Penh, Cambodia, Hana waits anxiously after arriving in the city, hoping to meet Taijun. He finally arrives and guides her to a location, revealing that he has arranged for a tuk-tuk. Taijun Choi, a member of the National Security and Intelligence Service, was Duyi Lee's closest colleague. Hana inquires about his car, but Taijun explains that he doesn't have it today because he's off duty. Suspicion creeps into Hana's mind as she questions why he stopped by his office. He stammers, scratching his neck, and mumbles something about having something urgent to handle. Anxious to get moving, he suggests they leave because the heat is becoming unbearable, but Hana senses something amiss in his behavior. As they ride in the tuk-tuk, Hana hands Taijun a phone, informing him that she needs the coordinates for the last place he saw her brother. Nervous and sweating, Taijun stammers as he takes the phone and mentions it was 75 kilometers north of their current location, towards Siem Reap, in an ordinary village. Taijun then voices his concern, advising Hana not to get involved like this, as it could lead to complications if their colleagues at the intelligence service find out. However, Hana ignores his caution and begins a barrage of questions about Duyi, his last mission, who he had been in contact with, the type of drugs he carried, the clothes and shoes he wore when the bomb went off, and even the mode of transportation he used. Hana makes it clear that Taijun will provide all the details, or she'll show him just how complicated things can get. Taijun reluctantly agrees, declaring that this will be the last time he does something like this. They are now in Duyi's apartment, both Hana and Taijun sifting through the contents of the fridge. Hana's memories of the neat and orderly apartment flood back to her. The meticulously arranged drinks are just like her brother, a perfectionist in every way. But no matter how much she thinks about it, his death doesn't fit his personality at all. Taijun begins to explain their recent investigations. He and Duyi have been tracking a new drug called KAR 947A, with a focus on tracing its distribution by the Italian Mafia. He reveals that this drug is tricky because it can easily be disguised as a medical substance, unlike most hallucinogens. But then, he mentions that he lost contact with Doogie just before they were supposed to meet at the rendezvous point for the drugs. When he finally caught up to Doogie, he demanded an explanation, only to discover that Doogie had decided to go solo. The revelation that Doogie had a connection with the Mafia leaves Tae-joon baffled. Listening to Tae-joon's story, Hana feels a twinge of doubt. She can't be entirely sure if she should trust him, especially given his earlier behavior and responses. There's a lingering suspicion that he might have already informed his superiors about her presence. For the time being, she decides to maintain a cautious distance from him and extract as much information about her brother as possible. She knows she has to be exceptionally careful now, considering that even her brother's home might have been compromised. With great deliberation, she turns on the television, cranking up the volume to its maximum setting. This is a tactic to thwart any potential eavesdropping devices that might have been planted in the apartment. Hana observes that her brother detests disorder to the point of obsession, and whoever has been here clearly knows that. However, they haven't quite gotten all the details right, such as the alignment of the drink labels and the arrangement of clothes hangers. Determined to uncover any clues her brother might have left behind, Hana goes into his room. There, she recognizes a hidden projector that he had once shown her. It cleverly masquerades as a regular lamp. As she wonders when he had set up this elaborate contraption, she finds herself facing a reluctant decision. She has to reach out to someone she had never planned on contacting again. Things are indeed getting interesting and intense. Hana picks up her phone and dials a familiar number. The voice on the other end answers with a cheerful greeting, but she remains silent. After a brief pause, he playfully asks if she's gotten drunk and dialed the wrong number, just like she used to do with an old lover. She responds briefly, asking about his well-being, with no pleasantries exchanged. It's revealed that his name is Logan. He questions her presence in Cambodia, surprised by her sudden appearance. She, in turn, expresses suspicion, suggesting he might be an ex-lover or a stalker. Logan, with a mischievous grin, admits he's missed her and jokingly hints at his love for keeping an eye on her. Hana eventually discloses that she needs his assistance, promising to provide information about a case she's currently working on in return. She tantalizingly hints that he'll be pleased with what he sees. Logan's curiosity increases. He inquires about the nature of the case, to which she responds that it involves the Mafia, specifically Giulio Parenti of the Sicilian Mafia. Without hesitation, Logan accepts her request and assures her he'll join her soon, asking if there's anything else she needs. She requests her old stock of weapons. In the next scene, we're introduced to Valentine's Day, a private military company specializing in high-risk missions. However, there's nothing romantic about their approach. When Valentine's Day targets their enemies, it only means one thing: death. Now, in the Valentine's Day safe house in Cambodia, Hana screeches to a stop on her bike. Her former colleague rushes to greet her with a tight hug, inquiring if her arrival signifies her return to their ranks. She dismisses the idea, explaining that she simply requires assistance and inquires about Logan. Her colleague, visibly disappointed, informs her that Logan is at the office and speculates about his sudden appearance. Logan Valentine, the head of Valentine's Day, emerges. Hana presents a recording obtained from her brother's room, revealing high-profile criminals, the FBI, the CIA, and the Mafia. It's clear that Giulio Parenti played a role in her twin brother's disappearance, though officially, he's declared dead during a mission. Hana believes her brother was gathering information on the Russian and Italian mobs. Logan questions her certainty regarding Parenti's involvement. He finds Parenti's alleged actions unusual, as he's known for having people killed rather than kidnapped due to his dislike of wasting time. During their investigation, Hana reveals that Smith and Petrov have developed close ties to Parenti since a terrorist attack in Chicago a year ago. As they study the projector footage, Logan recognizes a client named Mr. Kang. When questioned about Mr. Kang, Logan hints that he's a client with confidential details. They deduce that Mujin Kang is a rising tycoon, and Parenti would not typically engage in petty drug deals. If the information was fabricated, someone might have impersonated Parenti. Logan suggests that this deceit is common among drug dealers, but wonders why Hana's country's intelligence service didn't consider it initially. He suggests it may have been intentional. A man enters, apologizing for the interruption and referring to the intelligence they received that morning. He reveals that Giulio Parenti's goods were stolen by Mesa, a Cambodian criminal organization. Hana, intrigued and questioning the man's identity, is introduced to him as Yoon-seong-yeol. Curiosity piqued, Hana gently shakes Yoon-seong and earns a warm smile in response. He reveals his Korean descent and willingly offers to assist her during her stay in Cambodia, finding pleasure in encountering a fellow Korean in this foreign land. Back at the house, Tae-jun anxiously searches for Hana, worried about her safety. Just as his concern peaks, she suddenly walks in, and he immediately scolds her for going out alone, emphasizing the dangers of the area. They enter the house, where she grabs a bottle of water, drinks it hastily, and slams the empty bottle onto the table. Concerned for her well-being, Tae-jun suggests accompanying her if she needs to go anywhere, fearing for her safety if she continues to wander alone. Hana then leans against the table, her demeanor tense, and admits there's much she doesn't understand about her brother's case and about Tae-jun himself, despite their long acquaintance. With determination in her eyes, she pulls out a gun, cocks it, and points it at Tae-jun, urging him to make the right choice. She questions the information he provided, noting significant gaps, especially in the surveillance video. She inquires about Duyi's unusual behavior in the dashcam footage, highlighting how he entered the building where the mobsters were and was later dragged out before the bomb detonated. She raises doubts about why the perpetrators would showcase her brother's face on camera if their intent was to kill him, suggesting that it might have been staged. She further reveals that the intelligence service declared Duyi dead based solely on the video, which isn't even the original version but rather an edited one. Hana turns her attention back to Tae-jun, her gaze unwavering, and demands to know if he has an explanation. Tae-jun stammers as he admits that they found a body with a damaged suicide vest, making it impossible to conduct an autopsy. He explains that they identified the body as her brother's due to the presence of his dog tag. Keeping the gun trained on Tae-jun, Hana declares that, from this moment forward, he's an accomplice to the case. She instructs him to cease his investigation into her, and in return, she'll pretend to believe his lies. She then orders him to inform his superiors that she hasn't left Duyi's apartment since yesterday. Tae-jun reluctantly agrees, and Hana nods while signaling her partner Yoon-seong-yeol to intervene. Yoon-seong swiftly incapacitates Tae-jun, remarking, "What a heartbreaking betrayal." Hana retorts that it's still too early to label it a betrayal and that they'll have to wait and see how the story unfolds. In the next scene, we see Hana riding a bike, and Yoon-seong inquires if she's planning to leave. She reveals that Logan provided her with the coordinates to the safe house and suggested that the Cambodian crime syndicate might target it. Yoon-seong acknowledges the strategic importance of the location and advises her to maintain a low profile until receiving further instructions, as Parenti is likely to make a move due to items stolen from him. Determined to get ahead of their adversaries, Hana resolves to sneak into the safe house. Yoon-seong expresses his interest in her romantic life, asking if she's seeing anyone. She confirms that she is, and he playfully concedes, promising to step back. He bids her farewell and wishes for her safe return. As she speeds away, Yoon-seong reflects to himself, finding the situation quite intriguing and lamenting, "What a shame."